Hi, I'm Evan, your host for Wine Couch TV. With each episode, we explore different aspects of wine, from different regions to different grape types, from food and wine pairings to different things that you can shop in the supermarket to pair your wine with. This week's focus is specifically on a grape that is celebrated throughout Italy and increasingly around the world, and that grape is Sangiovese. Sangiovese is the grape of central Italy. Though it's associated primarily with Tuscany, one finds it in Umbria, the Marches, and throughout the whole sort of central plain, central band, if you will, across that area. Of course, Chianti is where it's most celebrated, but there are a lot of other regions that make equally wonderful wines. Brunello for Brunello di Montalcino, or I guess I should say Montalcino for Brunello di Montalcino, Montepulciano for Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and all of these areas have their own sort of unique, if you will, selections or clones. So while Sangiovese, the primary grape, is the grape of the region, each area has its own sort of take on it, if you will, within the same family. I hope that makes sense. We're going to taste two wines, and that'll probably explain it for us. The first wine we have today is a 2007 Chianti Classico from Felsina, and it's their Berardenga blend. Now, this particular wine is primarily Sangiovese, but as in the case with many wines coming out of Chianti, it's blended with other local grapes as well as some international grapes, but the driving force in it is Sangiovese. And if there's no doubt, it's certainly there in the nose. Sangiovese's classic character is a combination of dark and red cherries, a little bit of coffee, a touch of truffle, and that sort of signature spicy, sort of leathery, tobacco-y kind of thing that I find so often and is very evident in this particular wine. I'm reminded in tasting the wine that 2007 was an incredibly ripe year, and this wine has a lot of generosity of body to it, while still having very balanced tannins and a nice bit of acidity to it to carry through the finish. Acidity is one of the signature aspects of what Sangiovese is all about and makes it a very food-friendly wine. This whole idea of having red sauce, if you will, or tomato bases, whether it's on pasta, in sauces and all that, is a marriage made in heaven for Sangiovese because the acidity levels work together so beautifully. The second wine that we're going to be having today is another Sangiovese, this time from California. This is from Luna Winery. It's also in the 2007 vintage from Napa Valley. Now, Sangiovese in California, that's sort of like cows in Berkeley, right? You don't necessarily think about it. We think of Cabernet, Chardonnay, Syrah, other grapes. But increasingly, you're finding a lot of these Italian grapes, whether it's Sangiovese or Nebbiolo for reds and Vermentino and other grapes for whites, in California. And we refer to these often as what we call Cal-Ital wines. Sangiovese is probably the leader in this regard right now, making primarily red still wines, but also some delightful rosés. This wine maintains that same wonderful dark cherry profile, the same level of spice, but here being in a New World interpretation, a little bit more oak. So there's at once sort of a little bit of a chocolatey mocha character on top of that core beautiful dense red to black fruit. A bit more body. 2007 happened to be a wonderful vintage in California as well. This wine could actually handle a little bit fuller fare. So stews, roasts, grilled meats, things like that would handle it fine. Even more robust preparations of classic Italian dishes like risotto would handle with this wine beautifully. This wine is, to me, if you're looking at it from an Italian parallel thing, probably a little bit closer to what you might find in Montalcino than what you would find typically in Chianti, which tends to be a little bit on the lighter side. Anyway, as we exit the land of Chianti and Sangiovese and enter into the Wine Couch Word of the Week, our Wine Couch Word of the Week, I lied, it's actually two. Colirino and Canaiolo. Now, I know you're thinking right off the top of your head, geez, sounds like an Italian ambulance-chasing law firm, but in fact, Colirino and Canaiolo are the two grapes, local in origin, that are often blended with Sangiovese in making these classic blends. While one still finds other grapes in blends today, grapes even including Syrah, Cabernet, and a little bit of Merlot, which are legal upwards to about 10% in a classic Chianti blend. The local grapes, most notably Canaiolo and to a second degree Colirino, are important for the personality, character, and structure of that wine. Enough about Sangiovese. Rather than talking about it, you should be drinking it. Go out, buy yourself a bottle, have a wonderful plate of pasta or good pizza, a lot of good tomato sauce on that, and until then, you take care.